Yet just know that if there's a change in White House, there's going to be a whipsaw effect of going in a different direction as well.
Danielle Smith is hinting that a pipeline might be coming. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Danielle Smith speaking at the Canada Strong and Free event. She also had a meeting with Mark Carney. Maybe a deal in the works there. We also have this bombshell story coming down of Bill C-22. Another bill under Gary Anasandri's portfolio seeking unlawful access. Big tech companies not happy about it. Let's jump into this. We've got conservative Jacob Mantle posting this. Bill C-22 as drafted would undermine our ability to offer the powerful privacy and security features users expect from Apple. This legislation would allow Canadian government to force companies to break encryption by inserting backdoors into their products, something Apple will never do.
Our government introduced Bill C-22.
So what are we talking about here? This is Bill C-22, an act respecting lawful access. Depending on who's framing it here, it's either a good thing for citizens or a bad thing for citizens. Facilitate access to basic information that will assist in the investigation of federal offenses through confirmation of service demands given to telecommunication service providers or judicial production orders for the production of subscriber information.
Something that law enforcement, security services, and organizations supporting victims have been asking for decades.
And it goes on here. Basically, they want backdoor access to a lot of these companies in the name of catching criminals and searching to find bad guys. But really, this is just a violation on individuals' rights. We got the Reclamaire summing this up here. He's posting two frames here. The first one here, he says, CBC frames USA legal application to obtain internet access as proof of Trump authoritarianism. Canadian sues U.S. Homeland Security, which allegedly sought his Google data after critical social media posts. And the second one, he says CBC frames Canadian government's Bill C-22, which removes the legal requirement to obtain personal internet data as necessary to fight crime. That's right, this is all about safety. New lawful access bill would give police and CSIS more powers to track suspects online. It's just to keep us all safe around here. That's why they want to have backdoor access to all these different platforms. In reality, this is so bad that we have the United States government here and Congress calling this out. The Committee on the Judiciary and Committee on Foreign Affairs of the United States House of Representatives are conducting oversight of actions by foreign governments that threaten to weaken the security, privacy, and constitutional rights of the American citizens. Canada's Bill C-22, currently under consideration in Parliament, would drastically expand Canada's surveillance and data access powers in ways that create significant cross-border risks to the security and data privacy of Americans. We write to express our concerns that, if enacted, Bill C-22 would allow Canadian government officials to compel American companies to build backdoors into their encrypted systems, thereby introducing systemic vulnerabilities that could be exploited by hackers, foreign adversaries, and cyber criminals. This concern is heightened in light of ongoing discussions concerning U.S. Canadian data access frameworks contemplated under U.S. Clarifying Lawful Overseas Use of Data Act of 2018. They want backdoor access to citizens' private data in the name of safety and security to fight crime. Somehow I'm not believing that that's their intention.
This bill takes the huge first step of building the surveillance architecture in the first place. Once it is built, it will be ripe for abuse either by the government or by hackers. Once it is built, it will not be unbuilt. We are at the stage where the government builds all the telescreens and puts them in your home, but promises to only use them if you've been bad. What is worse, Mr. Speaker, this bill, as pertains to electronic service providers under Section 7, such as Apple, Signal, Telegram, or Tinder, may be forced to keep that backdoor secret. Section 15, an electronic service provider and any person acting on its behalf must not disclose any of the following information: the fact that the electronic service provider is subject to the order. In plain English, this section sets out that the government has ordered construction of a backdoor to be kept secret.
Bill C-22 would impose broad obligations on electronic service providers to develop, implement, and access, test, and maintain operational and technical capabilities for authorized persons to access encrypted data and information. While the bill states that providers need not comply if doing so would introduce a systemic vulnerability, the term is vague and ultimately subject to a future regulatory process. Furthermore, the legislation empowers you as the Minister of Public Safety to issue secret ministerial orders subject only to the Intelligence Commissioner's review and kept confidential that allows you to issue targeted demands to individual providers. Like, this is so draconian what they're doing here. In practice, providers offering end-to-end encryption services will inevitably face directives to create backdoor and architectural changes that bypass or weaken encryption to enable lawful interception or data extraction. We know full well that hackers are going to find their way in this. All of our data is going to get spilled out everywhere because the Liberal government is trying to force this on all these companies. Everything the Liberals do is always for their own benefit. It's not for ours. We're also seeing this on the Globe and Mail. Meta warns lawful access bill would make tech companies a surveillance arm of the government. Tech giant Meta here is warning the exact same thing, saying they framework to capture ordinary Canadians' private information, even if they have no connection to crime. This bill would give the Canadian government way too much power to look at personal information of individuals in Canada. Who knows what they would find? Somebody complaining about reconciliation? I bring that up because at the Canada Strong and Free event, what did they do? A land acknowledgement.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. I hope you had a great day yesterday. I would like to begin by recognizing that we're meeting on the never surrendered homeland of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, a land of spirit and purity.
Why? Why are they doing this at both the Conservative events? This is at the Canada Strong and Free event and at the BC leadership debate. They did this. Like, seriously, somebody call this out.
Of healing plants and sacred waters provided to the people by Creator since time immemorial.
You know who's sacred are the Canadian taxpayers who built Canada. That's who should be sacred in this land.
I'm proud to be part of a government that's committed to defending Canadian trade and ensuring our businesses are not overly reliant on any single market. By opening doors for exporters and supporting small businesses to reach customers around the world, we're strengthening our economy and creating more opportunities in my riding of Sarnia-Lambton-Bikeshwanong and across the country. Could the Minister of Women and Gender Equality and Secretary of State for Small Business and Tourism update this House on the historic progress we've made to diversify Canadian trade?
So the way she's speaking here, she's lying. She doesn't believe anything she's reading. We all know this. Obviously, she's a conservative that just went over there to what? She got a big payout? Is she a secret operative? I still want to see that one play out. Some people think she's going over there as a secret operative to prove that she can cheat the system, get more for her riding, pretending to be a liberal, and then flip back. Somehow I don't think she's going to flip back. I think there's something else in it for her off the books. Is she going to become an executive at Brookfield in the next couple of years? Get $1 million signing bonus? What's happening over there? Either way, this is not genuine and honest how she's speaking here.
Creating more opportunities in my riding of Sarnia-Lambton-Bikeshwanong.
So jumping ahead in this event, we've got Jasmine Lane interviewing Danielle Smith, or shall we say Prime Minister Danielle Smith, as Mark Carney referred to her in his post here. Obviously, somebody in his comms team screwed up. As global trade evolves, Prime Minister Danielle Smith and I are working to build a stronger, more independent and sustainable economy. So if you're checking his post now, they've deleted this whole section on the bottom. It's just funny. And Jasmine asked a great question here. Is Alberta getting a new pipeline?
I saw that you had visited with Mark Carney while you've been in town here. So do you still have that same opinion, or where are you at these days?
Well, I was feeling less confident before I saw the Prime Minister. I'm feeling much more confident that we're going to be able to finally land the MOU, and to do so before we submit our proposal to the Major Projects Office for a new pipeline to the west coast of BC. A lot more confident.
On that note, it's been reported quite a bit lately that there's various executives and top CEOs and all of that who are saying that they're feeling a lot less confident themselves in it, given the current regulatory pressure that federally is applied to them. What do you make of that and those concerns?
Well, I can tell you I've been watching with interest is the energy sector, and even some folks in the commentariat world, like Martha Hall Finley. So she used to be on the Liberal side of the aisle, and she's now leading the School of Public Policy in Calgary. But we're seeing more voices saying that questioning whether the world is going to be moving in the direction of carbon pricing at all. And so what I would say is that in Alberta, we've had a carbon price since 2017. 2007. And part of it was to stimulate some of the research and innovation and technology that we now have deployed in Alberta. We've got carbon capture, utilization, and storage at scale. We've got geothermal. We've developed a lithium market. We're investing in hydrogen projects and bitumen advanced materials and various other things, all because of the framework that we've set up. And so we just don't want that framework messed with. I think what we're worried about, and it's, I think, a legitimate worry, is that there is no other large energy producer that is going down the pathway of industrial carbon taxes. I get that. And of course, we're sitting right next to the United States, which has taken a complete 180 from where they were about a year and a half ago. So we have to calibrate right to make sure that we're creating the conditions for success. We're not imposing too much cost on industry, maintaining that really innovative environment so that we can start developing technological solutions and ensure that it doesn't end up downloading too much cost on our people, on our ratepayers. So that's what's taken a little bit of time for us to find the right spot, but we have to take a different approach. Pierre Poilievre did not get elected. If he had gotten elected, we might have had a different approach. We have a liberal government where their carbon tax objectives are a much higher priority. And so if we're going to try to get to a deal, there's a compromise that we have to make. We just hope that we landed in the right spot.
Maybe we got to call this straighter than that. Mark Carney's sole goal is to boost the value of his fund, which requires net zero. Pierre Poilievre would have cut that crap day one, and we'd have a pipeline already underway going to the West Coast. The next question here, Jasmine asks about basically the CBAM program in Europe, the carbon border adjustments, and Carney's trying to get us woven into their system. So if they have a CBAM, we've got a CBAM, then we're compliant, but any other country that trades with us, they'll have to pay a carbon border adjustment if their products are not green enough. Then Danielle Smith response here brings up Germany, who, while being the economic engine of Europe, switched everything to renewables and their economy is tanked. And now they've had to import natural gas from the United States just to be able to survive. That's why I did that import terminal in just 6 months. But then she brings up Justin Trudeau.
We're sort of probing, how is Germany going to make this happen? They are the engine of the European economy, but they don't want coal. They don't want nuclear. They don't want natural gas, but they still want to be able to grow. Like, you just can't, there's something's not computing here. You can't grow your economy on wind, solar, and batteries. And so they haven't started having, I don't think, that very important conversation yet, the way we have in Canada. And so that's why, even though we may not be able to get everything that we want in this negotiation, it's a heck of a lot better than what we were facing under Justin Trudeau, who wanted us to go to a $170 carbon price by 2030, wanted an emissions cap, which would have shut in 2.5 million barrels of Alberta oil, and wanted a net zero power grid where if you didn't have your power grid 95% abated by 2035, the executives would go to jail. That was what we were experiencing under the former prime minister. And so the fact that we've got the net zero power regs gone, the emissions cap gone, an agreement to get to $130 pricing at some point that is more reasonable, and a few other areas that we've been able to negotiate, that's kind of the way cooperative federalism works. The Supreme Court has given the federal government the ability to set a floor price on carbon. And so we have to accept the reality of the framework that we're operating in, still fight against it, still make sure that our companies are able to afford it, and still make sure that our ratepayers are able to afford it. But that's just one of the realities we face.
So before she goes on here, I just want to bring this up because she's talking about Carney in a way that he's different than Trudeau. And I don't know if she just keep giving him the benefit of the doubt to try to get a deal. But I mean, this is Carney's plan. This wasn't Trudeau's plan. This is Carney's plan. $170 per ton. CEOs go to jail if they don't impose these rules, these regulations. Mark Carney's Glasgow Alliance of Net Zero completely imploded. All the big banks and all the big companies started dropping out. You got to remember, he's the godfather to Chrystia Freeland's son. Chrystia Freeland is actively in the government as the deputy leader. Interesting thing to bring up there, Mark Carney never appointed a deputy leader. He's too arrogant for that. Trudeau brings in the carbon tax in 2019. Is Carney whispering in his ear or Chrystia Freeland's? Probably. Carney becomes advisor to Justin Trudeau, August 2020. Also joins Brookfield in August 2020. Suddenly all this stuff comes out. These aren't Trudeau's initiatives. These are Mark Carney's initiatives. And eventually, Justin Trudeau was too arrogant to step down that Chrystia Freeland refused to table the budget to humiliate Justin Trudeau to get him to step down so then Mark Carney could take over the party. That's exactly what happened. Chrystia Freeland threw Trudeau under the bus to help her good friend and the godfather to her child, Mark Carney, become prime minister. These are all his initiatives here. Trudeau was just rolling them out because Trudeau's such a bumbling buffoon. He didn't know how to make money off of being prime minister, but Mark Carney does.
It doesn't mean that other energy producing countries are not doing some of the same things we are. They're just doing it a different way. Saudi Arabia and UAE, of course, do not have a carbon price, but they're both investing in carbon capture, utilization, and storage, direct air capture. They're both bringing on alternative renewables onto their grid. And so we're seeing that some of the largest energy producers in the world have determined that it's important to keep on investing in this area. And so even though the U.S. has taken a different turn in the last 18 months, heaven forbid Gavin Newsom become a future president or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But you just know that if there's a change in White House, there's going to be a whipsaw effect of going in a different direction as well. So we have to be mindful of where the entire world is and not just where we find ourselves in this point in time. We can't be uncompetitive relative to the United States. Otherwise, we won't attract any capital back. But I think we have some latitude to try to find a different balance.
I mean, if Saudi Arabia and these other countries investing in carbon capture, but that's only fine and well if gas prices for average everyday citizens is very low. Reducing the price of transport reduces the cost of all life in our country. But the Liberals are doing the opposite. They're putting industrial carbon taxes on everything, then clean fuel standard, not to mention the carbon tax before. Remember, 8 out of 10 Canadians are better off with the carbon tax. Remember that lie that they told us? And then it came out, it was increasing the cost. They lied to us for years on that, saying that we were better off with their carbon tax. And then they admit, no, we were paying more for it. Well, obviously, it's a tax. If it's really about emissions, which it never is, it's never about the planet and saving the world. But if it was, then they would just be heavily investing in LNG and start exporting that to India and China as the top priority. Here's a graph Charles Lamam here posting that sums up the situation Danielle Smith's got to deal with. So we've got GDP per capita per province, and we see the two largest ones, Ontario and Quebec, are below the Canadian average of 59,529. And we've got the West here, Alberta number 1 at 74,900 and Saskatchewan 70,921. And you throw on top of that British Columbia 60,163, and every other province is below that. No wonder the West is frustrated with Mark Carney. It seems, according to Danielle Smith, it seems a pipeline deal is possibly coming. Will she have to give up more than she wants to get this going? And maybe that's what she's going to do just to get it going, knowing full well that Pierre Poilievre or another conservative leader sometime in the future will eventually get in and get rid of all the nonsense and cut out the industrial carbon tax and all that stuff later on. It's better to at least get building now versus not building at all. And end this one off on a positive note. We've got a barista had $20 stolen from his tip jar. Customers showed up with over $1,000. Quoted saying, "I feel absolutely loved," Red, White and Brew Coffee House co-owner Michael Coyne, who has autism, tells Today.com. On March 4th, somebody had nabbed the $20, says there was only $2 left behind. The next day, he told two regulars about the theft. The Warwick police chief, this is down in Rhode Island in America, and one of the sergeants, they posted on social media, and the rest is history. Soon after, he had $1,400 in tips. This is a good story.